Welcome to A Seat at the Table. I'm your host, LaToya Hannah Moxey. We are kicking off season 3 in the most proper fashion possible because it is October, and October represents Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I'd be remiss if I don't cover that topic because it's also my birthday month. I'm joined with Dr. Alia Patrice Campbell, Andrea Sweeting, and Minarda Thompson Powell. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being a guest on A Seat at the Table. The show is self-explanatory. It's a seat at the table. It's an opportunity for me to have conversations with women about particular topics that they're either passionate about, that they've had a journey, or had some sort of experience that's worth sharing with the public. And each one of you have really incredible stories. I want to give each of you an opportunity to just walk me through what it was like to experience breast cancer, to actually even find out you have it, and what that journey was like. And I'll start with you, Dr. Alia. It's going to be hard for me to keep saying doctor because I don't know.
That's fine. Thank you for having me, LaToya. What can I say? I was 2 weeks into my fine at 40. 2 weeks into 40 years old, embarking on a new journey with that. And my son had just turned 1 that October. I always had my annual physical. It was not time for me to start my mammograms yet because I had just turned 40, so I didn't even get the opportunity to book my appointment. It's 2 weeks of speaking to my nanny, giving her some instructions, and something just told me to check my breast. So as weird as it was, I started to feel myself, and I found something. And I said, what is this? Full disclosure, about around my son's first birthday in October, I noticed that my right nipple started to play hide and seek. And at that time, I was going through a lot. I have a toddler, was a single mommy, even though his dad is a part of his life. I was just me and him living together, and my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer that previous year. So I had a lot on my plate, taking care of my mother, making sure that my dad was emotionally okay, because for the past 48 years it was just turd, right? Ignored it in October. Said, okay, God, this has to be some type of joke, because I knew what the signs were.
Yeah.
After I felt the lump, that 2 weeks in December, I said, okay, I cannot ignore this anymore. I picked up the phone and I called Homer Bloomfield. He's like my uncle. I just love Homer. Him and Faye. 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
Calling. Found something I need. What to do next. So they instructed me to go straight to Fort Terrace. They'll send everything in. When I went to Fort Terrace, they wanted to give me an ultrasound right away. And I said, but I've never experienced what a mammogram is. I've heard women say it's uncomfortable, it's not uncomfortable. I wanted to see for myself. I said, can I have a mammogram first? And she said, sure. So we took the mammogram as basically formality, and then I got an ultrasound. In the room, the radiologist said, excuse me, doc, give me one moment. So when he said that, I said, okay, they found something. We learn how to, we learn body language in medical / dental school. What not to show the patient, what to show the patient.
But you knew.
But yeah, I knew. So when Doc came in, he said, Dr. Campbell, we found a lump. It's indeed a lump. It's very suspicious. Me feeling the lump, it was fixated, meaning I could not move it, which is also a salient feature of something that is malignant. So that was, I found it on Sunday, 10 o'clock Sunday, 9 a.m. I was in Fort Terrace, and on that Tuesday morning I was back at Fort Terrace for a biopsy. They rushed it. I came back, The day that it came back, I was sitting in PMH oncology department with my mother. She's about to get another round of chemo. My phone rang. It was Faye. She said, "Hey, I need to see you." I said, "Okay." I hung up. I said, "Hey, mommy, I have to come right back." She said, "Everything okay?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "You have to go to work?" I said, "Yes, I'm going to go right up to the hospital because I work in the dental department at PMH as well." I said, "I'll be right back." She said, "Okay." Hopped in my car, went to Dr. Bloomfield's office. Faye was ready. Terry, I said, "Oh God, Faye," because I'm like their little sister. And she said, "Wait on Doc. I said, "Okay." He gave me my diagnosis. It was invasive ductal carcinoma. I said, "Okay." One tear ran down my eye because I was like, "Really? It's just something else that I have to deal with right now." I said, "So what's next?" "What's next?" So he said, "You need to go and see Dr. Shea." I said, "Okay, make the appointment." They made the appointment right then and there. I saw Dr. Shea that Friday. He said, "Okay, so these are your options: lumpectomy, uni, bilateral." I said, "Bilateral." Before he even finished the sentence, he said, "You want to take off both?" I said, "Yes." I said,
So let's stop there because
Yeah,
I want to
'cause
get
that was a lot.
into
That was a lot.
I want to be able to talk about the options that women have, but I want to know when you got the diagnosis, in that moment, what were you thinking? How did you feel?
Nothing.
Just numb.
Just no, like not even numb.
Twilight
Like,
Zone.
what's next?
It didn't hit you yet.
I had no time. It never hit me.
Really?
It never hit me.
So you never had one of those moments where you're like, wait a minute, this could be the end of my life if I don't do what I need to do? Like you didn't have one of those moments?
No, not for a very long time afterwards because I was so busy taking care of my mom and I know what her prognosis was.
So you were inundated with other life challenges, so that it kind of, I guess, more or less robbed you of the experience of really having it sink in.
It robbed me and it protected me
you
at the same time. At the same time, because my fight was not nowhere close to what I knew what my mother was going through.
When you told your mom,
I did not tell her.
You never told your mom?
I never told her. She figured it out. I couldn't tell her.
Wow.
I couldn't, because it's a baby girl going through this, and she already felt like a burden because I was doing everything
for her.
Mind you, I'm originally from Grand Bahama, so because there isn't an oncology setup there, my mother had to fly to Nassau every 2 weeks.
This was pre or post Dorian?
This is pre.
Okay.
This is pre.
Okay.
She was diagnosed November 18th, 2018, and I was diagnosed November 18th, 2019.
A year apart.
A year apart.
Wow.
To the date that I got the news.
Eerie.
Very eerie. And it does not run in my family. It was just, Alia, you have this. What? Like, okay. So I felt nothing but, okay, lacing up your boots. It's time to get to work. You have no time to pity what's going on. But as the journey continued, I did have the darkness did come. Darkness did come. So when Dr. Shea said, "Okay, so when do you want to do it? You want to do it next week?" I said, "No, come on, no." Said, "It's Christmas time. I want to enjoy my Christmas. I don't know if this will be my last Christmas with my mom. I need to enjoy everything about it." I said, "We can do it in the new year, seeing that this will be my new year, this newness. So let's start everything new in the new year." And on January 11th, 2020, I had a double mastectomy. My team was Williamson Shea, Gregory Neal did my reconstruction.
So you did it here?
I did it here.
Okay.
I did it here because I couldn't bear to be away from
your mom.
from my mother.
Well, and for
And
my
for
son.
my baby, right? For my baby most of all.
Yeah.
For my baby. My mommy married my daddy.
So they had,
Stay
yeah, they
strong.
have each other.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
But
they
I
have each
couldn't
other.
be away from my baby because we didn't know
Understood.
what, how long it would have
Expect,
taken me to come home. And I said, I want to do it here. I had the option because I had really good insurance support. I had the option to go wherever I wanted to. But I said, no, I have
Do
to
it
stay
here.
home. I have to stay home. And my support system was home.
That's most important.
You need someone to
Because when
hop
you
in the
feel
car.
lonely,
Yeah, you need
and
someone
you,
to hop in the
that
car.
does affect your recovery. Yes. So I want to stick a pin there because there's so much more I want to ask you, but I want to get to these ladies. I know, Andrea Sweeting, you have been the pillar for so many women, being the leader, I want to say, of Sister Support Group. You are definitely the epitome of that word, leader. You are a strong woman, and you provide so much comfort and just the understanding that comes with, I've never been diagnosed with breast cancer, knock on wood, but you make me feel like I could come to you to talk to you about anything. That's how strong you are. That's how strong you have shown, you know.
Exactly.
And so, because a lot of people, when they hear breast cancer awareness or when they hear support, they think of Andrea Sweeting. So I would have been remiss to not ask you to be here today. So I want to say thank you again.
Thank you so much for
but
having me.
My pleasure. Tell us about your journey, as much as you'd like to tell us, and how you've been supportive to other persons experiencing the same journey.
Well, for everybody, I think we want our women to know that you have to do your annuals. And my annual actually included a mammogram. And my husband and I, we went to New York every Thanksgiving. And so I did the mammogram before I left. And when I came back, everybody was calling me, which was the 1st of December, and to say, yeah, something's definitely wrong. And well, in those days I was still working. I was at Comfort Suites, and I had insurance. So when I went to doctor, and they said that it probably have to do a lumpectomy, I said, oh no, you're not doing a lumpectomy, and you're not going to do a biopsy. I had no idea what the heck I was talking about right at that point in time, but I knew this breast had to come off. And when I told that to Dr. Diggers, he says, I said, why can't we do the left? He says, because insurances don't pay for a well breast. But I didn't have the knowledge at that point in time to say that, you know, well, let's do it. You'll charge me X, Y, or Z, and then I can do it. But in those days, truthfully, 20 years ago, doctors were not doing bilaterals for us at all. We only started doing the bilaterals when the Siegels came to the Bahamas.
Okay.
The Ambassador Siegel. And his wife, Stephanie, she had cancer at the time. And she was the individual that brought all the individuals here to do the genetic testings. And that is when they started to do that. Okay?
Oh, wow.
So persons with bilaterals right now can say thank God for that.
Thank God.
I want to get into later on a lot of the lingo, because you're saying words that you're definitely aware of.
Yes.
But for people at home, I want to get back into what's a lumpectomy, what's benign versus malignant. I want to know what's bilateral. So we're going to get into that, but you can continue.
So when he mentioned that fact, I said, fine, I'll just do it. That was just like you say, just before the holidays. And I felt that I should have Christmas. So January 5th of the next year, I did it, which was 2001. And that is when I had it, January the 5th. And when Dr. Diggers came in on the 4th day, I think, to check me out and everything else, he said, I love your attitude and I have someone for you to meet. And I was like, who could this be? And then I realized it was his sister, Charlene McPhee. And she was the individual who really was behind the two founders, because both of them worked out the surgical suite. And whenever a lady was diagnosed, it was a mess. And so she started asking individuals to come into the office to actually be there to help to comfort the person when they get their diagnosis. And that is the reason the group was actually started.
Wow.
Yes. So that is what the whole concept of it was. These two compassionate doctors, but they couldn't help us women when we started to screaming and all that. But for me, it didn't bother me, not at all. I knew for a fact that I wanted to live. And that was my whole concern at that point in time. So whatever I had to do, I was quite willing to go ahead and get that done. And like I said, that was in January. And February is my birthday, February 7th. So for the next week or two, I went and I joined the group on the 1st of March with their first meeting. And I was the secretary for the first, 6 years. And then for the next years, I've been president.
The leader. The leader with many followers.
Yeah. But truthfully, I just want women to know, honestly and truly, we are the persons to know what our bodies feel like. When there's something different, I ask you, please find somewhere to go and get help and find out what's going on with you, because early detection truly saves lives. And the thing for me is it was 0 to stage 1. Now, 0 to stage 1. Couldn't take it off the left breast when I wanted it off, okay? So I had a stroke in 2019. My whole left side was compromised. I couldn't walk and couldn't talk. I have a daughter and a son who live in Tampa, so I went to Tampa with them, and I did all my therapy over there. And when I came back home, everything was okay. And then I was taking therapy here for the left hand, which still doesn't bend, but I can now feel in my fingers.
That's good.
And then everything shut down, which is in 2020.
You scared us.
And so the 1st of September 2020, I said to myself, I said, it's time. Everything looks like it's opening up. Let me go. So I went to Dr. Monroe and I said to him, I'd like to have a X-ray done on my right side because I have this unbearable thing under the arm. He says, okay, so we'll make sure to do something. He said, we'll do ultrasound to the right, and we will do, on the left, we'll do the X-ray to see what's wrong with this whole hand so we can start your therapy. So I said, fine. And the young lady at Fourth Terrace Diagnostic was extremely nice, and she did the ultrasound, and she's going up and down. And then she said to me, did he ask you to do a mammogram? So I said, no. She says, well, it's only going to cost you $20 more for what you're paying at this point. I said, let's go ahead and do it. The next morning, he calls me. And I went to the office and I said to him, I said, Dr. Monroe, trust me, before we get anywhere, you're not doing a biopsy, you're not doing a lumpectomy.
Again.
Just take it out again.
Just take this off.
20 years later, seeing the
He
same
says,
thing.
what is the problem?
Wow.
He said, it don't look serious even on the mammogram. I said, I don't care, take
Right.
it off. And so it came back the same stage, 0 to stage 1, 20 years later.
It's
Wow.
a blessing.
Okay? And so that's why I'm saying to everybody, we need to make sure that we do what is actually expected of us to keep our bodies going. And if I wasn't so particular to get back to do therapy on my hand, I may not have realized.
No.
But I didn't feel anything in the breast, and that's the first thing I told Dr. Monroe. He said, well, I checked it the day before you went, and I didn't feel anything. So that is it. Sometimes these things are there, but it actually takes further screening to see what is happening. And that is what we want our women to know. Please don't ever feel within yourself that you can't get the screening. Yes, at this point in time, it is difficult for us, and some of us may not have the funds, but we must realize that regardless of what is going on, there's help out there.
Well, that is a lot to take in, but it's a good start. Having the conversation is a good start, and we're going to come back after this break, and we're going to talk to Minarda about your story, and we're going to learn a little bit about the language that is breast cancer. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Oh, for I can't help falling in love with you.
If you're just joining us, we are talking about breast cancer awareness, and we just heard the stories of Dr. Alia and Andrea Sweeting. And now, Minarda, your story, I'm sure, is different from both of these ladies. Give us a rundown of when you found out, how you felt, the whole night.
Well, I had started a mammogram group in 2013. We got a group of us together that decided, this is a scary thing to go and do this on our own. So we decided to get a group of us and do this together yearly so that we could go check. And I was actually one of the younger ones when we started it. I was under 40. But we discovered at the first one that I had dense breasts. So every year you have to add the ultrasound onto it. So the third year, 2015, they actually discovered a cyst in my right breast that had to be aspirated. No malignancies, nothing in it, was fine. Come back for the fourth year, I couldn't feel it, and it didn't, I don't know if they went back into the mammogram or ever to find it after the fact, but they found it in the ultrasound. It was they called it 12 o'clock right behind my nipple, so it was up inside, so you wouldn't notice it during the exams because it feels just like the ducts and the inner working that we have in our breast naturally. As I was doing my ultrasound, the radiologist, because she's a friend of mine, we talk every year, we actually had a survivor who was her sister out in the lobby giving her story with the others that were waiting. So I was like, man, if I want to get back out and hear what she's saying. And as I went to go, got up, she's like, hang on a minute, let me look over here again. And she actually brought the wand back, looked, checked it out. Okay, no problem. I honestly didn't even trigger it. I wanted to get back out into the hosting and to hear the story. I didn't want to miss what everybody else had heard. The week after, they would always let me know once everyone had been given their results from the mammograms. There were some of the women that literally gave them permission to say, call her and let her know that I'm okay, and let her call me because they didn't want to see the doctor calling them. It literally was like that. So when they called me that week to let me know about everybody else, for some reason I just knew, and I remember saying to her on the phone, you're not calling me for nobody else, are you calling for me? Don't know why. I don't know if it was something I heard in her voice or what it was, but she's like, I need you to come in and do another ultrasound. So we went back in. This time we were out at the Carmichael walk-in clinic because at that point they had their suite, their ultrasound suite with the TV down here at the end because it's mostly for expecting mothers, right? So we're at Collins. I was looking, now they have it as well, but I was just looking on the actual screen of the ultrasound machine. But this time I'm looking and I could see it. For me, it was what you always say, they say the textbook, what it looks like. Cancer looks like an octopus, that cell. This black circle with these tentacles coming off is literally what I was seeing on the screen. So the doctor came in and said, okay, here's your choices of surgeons. This is who you need to go to. She wanted them just to take it out. I called Dr. Francis. I had dealt with him with my aunt. He had been her surgeon with her diagnosis years before, and I just love his bedside manner. I love how I could speak to him. Literally got home that day, same thing, called him, hey, I need to come in and see you. And went into him and he said, okay, first thing first, I'm not cutting this without a biopsy because I don't know if I have to come back in. I don't want to cut it and spread. I'm not touching it until we know what it is. So we went in and had the biopsy done at PMH. They sent it off. I said to him when I spoke to him, when my mom and I went, that, it looks like what they say, but I don't know, we'll see. So when I walked in for the diagnosis, he said, it is what you thought it was. You already came to me saying this, so I'm going to be real with you and let you know this is what it is. And we went from there. I was like, I wanted to be home. I had, at that point, my kids were 11 and 15. The idea of leaving them and having to come back and forth, that just didn't compute. And my mom was here as well. And yeah, I wanted to be here. So I opted for the lumpectomy. Both Dr. Francis and my oncologist agreed that for what I had, the placement of the tumor, there's so many different things that go into it, that they felt that I could do the lumpectomy. If I had been in the States and seen another oncologist, I probably would have ended up having a bilateral just because of the way, and because we have such a high prevalence of it here, our doctors are actually way ahead of the game than some of the doctors in other countries. And we
Really?
really have to give them props for that because they know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So we decided to do the lumpectomy. At the time, they do the sentinel node biopsy as well. So they take out the first few lymph nodes in your underarm. One of them came back positive also, so it was good that I had done that. As far as staging, I had what was called triple positive, so it was, we were at stage 2B, which remember I'd had a mammogram the year before, and there was nothing there. Mammogram, an ultrasound the year before. We were up to 2B, which the only thing was the size. I was right on the 2 centimeters. If it had been bigger than that, I'd have been into stage 3, because I did have one positive node. So that all affects the type of chemo, all of that kind of thing that you had to do. So because I had the HER2 new, which was the aggressive factor, which is how it was able to be that big in under a year, which was, again, if I hadn't been doing yearly and I had skipped that year, or I had done, and that was the year of Hurricane Matthew. So we literally had our date set and changed like 3 times because NASA without power that month for like 3 weeks.
I remember.
So we were back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I remember having a conversation with a friend and saying, man, I wonder if we should just not do it this year. And she's like, you can't do that, man. So many. I was
You
like,
were
yes, I have to
seriously
do it
contemplating
for
not doing it.
everybody else. Seriously, because we didn't know.
But did you, in contemplating this, should I not, did you realize what you could, what
Oh yeah,
position
that's a
you could have been
fact.
putting
If
yourself
I
in?
hadn't done it, yeah, it could have been a completely different story.
Yeah.
Because for it to get that far and be in my lymph node already, if I hadn't, when they found it, I'd probably been stage 4.
And so
Because it
when
was
you
already
were
in my
diagnosed, which stage were you?
2B.
2B. And
Right.
what does that mean?
So it starts by the size. There's a lot of different factors that go. It's the size of the tumor, the placement of the tumor, whether it's in the duct or it's in between the breast ducts. And then you have the positive, triple negative of you have estrogen, progesterone, and the HER2 new. Those are the 3 factors that go into that.
All hormonal.
So my cancer was fed by estrogen and progesterone, and I had the aggressiveness factor of the HER2 new. So that's why it grew so fast.
I know, I've heard of women that get pregnant and find out they have breast cancer. And I can only imagine that that's like a buffet, right?
It is.
Yeah,
For
it
cancer.
literally is, because
It is.
our bodies and hormones are not they don't have the relationship that we think that they do. They're not the best friends that we would like them to be. And so my body and
Well, I mean,
hormones
I already
especially is
feel like having hormones as women is like, it's like the devil.
I mean, it's the bane of our existence for
Like
me,
the only thing,
and it sticks with us.
I feel like the
yes.
only real reason we have them is just to be tortured.
It's so
Really,
that
truly.
we can
I'm like,
continue the
how could something
population,
that's
but-
supposed to work for us work so much against us? It's crazy. We gotta go through menopause, we
Torture
gotta
us,
go
and-
through
Yeah.
feeding on our bodies. It's like, we gotta go through so, Eve, you know what? But I want to reel it back in to talk about some of the language that you guys have been using. For a lot of people that are watching that may not know, let's start with you with double mastectomy. Did I say that right? Mastectomy. Because, you know, people be saying all kind of things. Mastectomy, all sorts of stuff. So let's clear it up. Double mastec. It's with a T.
Yes.
Mastectomy.
Mhm,
See,
yes.
that already even sound aggressive because it ends with me. You see, I don't like that. But
most things that require
what is
something
yes,
end in
yes.
or
Oh,
me. So it's
anything
like out of
that
me.
is so true. Anything that means that you have to get rid of it from you, it ends with a me. I don't like that. It's a very selfish definition. But double mastectomy.
Removal of your both breasts.
So
Meaning
so
everything.
flattening gone all the way. Nipples gone, shape gone.
You can have a double mastectomy with
Nipples, right?
sparing the nipples.
Really?
Yes, but that
What makes
depends
that possible?
if the cancer did not infiltrate into the ducts, into the nipple behind.
So you could save the nipples.
Yes.
Possibly.
Possibly. Possibly.
Is it worth saving the nipples?
It depends. I could speak for me. No, it wasn't worth it. but my tumor had already gone. It was
It was
in,
already there,
yes,
right.
it was already there. So
And-
I had no choice.
So when you got your double mastectomy and the nipples were removed, here comes reconstructive surgery.
No, it's the same time. So I went to sleep.
Okay, so they do it all at once.
I did all one because like Mrs. Sweeting, I caught it very early. I was 1B. It was early enough. And like Mrs. Thompson Powell, I got my centenoid removed. To be honest with you, the only struggle I have after that now is the fact that those nodes were removed and the lymphatic drainage that happens underneath my underarm. So I just have this blob of what looks like fat underneath my right underarm because the lymph nodes aren't there, so you can't get rid of anything. Now,
Anything excess.
yeah, so that part of my lymphatic system isn't there anymore.
You can't go back in and take
No,
whatever.
you have to manually drain it, and it only can drain so much. So you'll always have that little swelling
In that
right
area.
there. Yeah.
I call mine my
And-
smiley face because
Yeah,
the
right.
cut is right above it.
Right
It
there.
looks like a smile, right? So I know
Right-
exactly
right
what you
there,
mean in that piece right, there.
So
Okay.
I went to sleep with beautiful D's, and I woke up with little tiny, and the scars, and the scars go from here and they go underneath my arm. Dr. Shane made,
So they look like eyes closed.
yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly how it looks. And
Janice the puppet from Sesame Street.
and because
See, I'm not the one. I would
You-
crack
I
jokes
just saw
all
that.
the
That's
time.
I
would crack
closed
jokes
my
all the
eyes
time.
and looked, and I was like, okay, yeah.
Yes, that's it.
I'm the
And
one you want to have around when you have sad days. It
actually looks-
the most left field thing.
It actually looks your eyes closed with eyeliner.
Yes.
Janice.
Now, keep in mind, I'm from Grand Bahama, not from Nassau, so I'm not a
So you're
Sesame.
showing.
I didn't grow up.
Just
No.
That's the one in the
No.
band, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Janice
No,
Face is
I
nuts or something.
know
Yeah.
who Janice is, but I didn't grow up on 3 p.m.
I'm sorry,
Sesame
I
Street.
digress.
Oh, you
3
didn't have
p.m.
that.
Sesame
That's 3
Street.
p.m. Sesame Street.
No,
I
I'm
understand.
sorry.
Okay,
I
get it.
digress. Okay. But I just, yeah,
But-
I would have named them Janice after that.
Right? Oh my
Janice.
goodness. So I woke up and I had no. The only the plus side was I didn't have to wear bras anymore.
God bless you.
They just sat there. Before I could not go anywhere without a bra.
So you don't have to deal with gravity.
No.
That's
no,
a silver lining.
No. And then now I just have to wait for my scars to fade, my
over time.
body to heal because nobody, before we started taping, Mrs. Sweetman and I were talking about how nobody talks about how the journey, it never stops. It never stops because she's sitting here 20 years later and had to do it all over again. And the journey continues for the rest of our lives because we have to make sure
You have to keep
that
checking.
20 years later,
Okay, so I want to know about malignant versus benign. What is the difference? Because you'll hear some people talk about tumors related to breast cancer and other things where one is malignant, one is benign.
If it's malignant, then that means it
You
has
have
a tendency
cancer.
to- It's cancer.
You have
and
cancer.
And it's spread. It can spread.
And benign means that it's just
Yes.
It's just
a
a tumor.
tumor.
It's just
Yeah.
a nuisance.
Cancer. It's
Yeah,
not a cancer.
or
It's
less.
a tumor. It's just a
That's, I
mass
mean, for
that's
lack
there.
of a better
Yes.
explanation.
Yes.
Right.
Well, it's still a nuisance if it's cancerous, right?
Yeah.
But it's not as much of a nuisance if
Yeah.
it's benign.
Okay.
Right, but with respect to breast cancer, benigns usually are on the level of cysts,
Yeah, or clogged guts.
Yes.
right?
Mhm, as opposed to
clogged
tumor.
ducts, right?
Right.
And then it becomes a nuisance because it can transform and you still have to check. You still have to check. You still have to check because many doctors don't remove benign structures. Yes.
True.
It's like the
Very
one that
true.
I had. It was,
Right.
It was just a needle aspiration because it was right here. So they literally
So you
just,
have
it
to
was
check.
ultrasound guided, just like how my biopsy was. And they just went in and removed the fluid that was in the cyst and then they biopsied that to
Right.
see if there were any cells in it.
Now, I know that this is a word that is synonymous with liquor for those persons who aren't really breast cancer aware, but port.
Oh, yeah.
Port.
You think about liquor
Port.
or you think about the actual port. So
I-
what is that and how I mean, did you guys have? Does
Yes.
every
I just
woman
had
have to
mine
have
reserved
one
and moved
installed?
earlier this year.
And
Yes.
explain what that is for persons who don't know, what it does, and how you live with it. Anybody?
It's the
Well,
instrument
you
that
guys-
is actually implanted by the surgeon to help the administration of your chemotherapy. And they prefer to use that as opposed to using your veins. Some persons would say, well, I don't think I want a foreign body in me, but they ask you to do that because it's much better for you as an individual. Plus, you don't have any swelling in the arms and all of that. So they prefer that. So
So-
it's an instrument that it's implanted. and
Where is it implanted exactly?
in the
Right here.
chest wall. Chest wall. Right on the chest
Right
wall.
there.
Okay, so right
You have a
above
little
or
line,
underneath the
see the
collar.
line?
Yeah.
And then it's a little,
It's a,
depending on how thick or slim you are,
I was gonna say because yours looks very
you,
flat.
no, mine is
Oh,
gone.
that's
I
what it's
took
out.
yours
Yeah,
out. I was
it's
gonna
out.
say because
Yeah,
I've
mine
never
is
seen. I was
fun
gonna
too.
say
Right.
Yeah.
It
You
looks
said
like
okay.
a circular
Right.
chip that's underneath your
Right under
skin,
the skin.
and
I've seen like a
sometimes
little
it's more
bulge.
yes, it's more prominent in some people than
Mhm.
there,
Yeah, others.
right?
That's
But
right,
you
we're
know
finding
how
out.
you have, I've never pledged, but I think I'm in the most prestigious sorority there is,
I would agree.
and this is our brand.
Yeah.
Because anywhere in the world, when you see this,
You know what it is.
You
you
know.
know
Yes.
exactly what it is.
Well, what we try to do with the women, our women too, when we give them the portacath, we let them know once it's placed, we will get a card for them, and we have that done. So when you travel,
You have it.
that they'll know that you have an implant.
Yes.
So that's the main thing.
Yes, I
So
still have
So
mine in my
it will
wallet
show up.
actually.
Yes, yeah.
So
it'll show up.
because the appropriate name is portacath.
The
So
portacath.
thank you for
Portacath.
correcting me.
Portacath.
But I call it
Yes.
portacath.
The portacath.
in Bahamianese.
Bahamianese.
The portacath.
Yeah.
But when you get it installed, is it an open wound?
No,
No,
They
no.
see it back
It's
over.
under the
No,
skin.
Under
it's
the skin.
And how do
Under the
they
skin.
feed the medication through?
It has like a round circle and it's very
it's
soft.
like a little mesh,
It's a mesh on
Okay.
top.
and the
And so they
needle.
just-
So
It
you
goes
stick
right
the
to
needle
that.
right into
Yeah,
that
the
and it
nurse will
feeds
come
it
and
through.
And just-
palpate it to find exactly where it is,
Mhm.
and
Just
they'll
stick
know
it.
by which one it is, where that spot is. Because like Alia said, there's different sizes
Sizes
for
of
different
it,
people,
yes.
so they find it and then they just get the needle.
Yeah, just poke it. They say, you might
poke it
feel a
up as a
little
drip.
cold.
Breath in,
Just
yeah.
poke it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you guys say that. We're going to take another break and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the ups and downs, how painful this experience is, I mean, the reality of it with these lovely ladies. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I can't help falling in love with you. Oh, for I can't help falling in love with you.
All right, ladies, we've already had such a passionate conversation about all things breast cancer awareness. For those of you that are not aware, Breast Cancer Awareness Month is October. We're in October. And so this is why we're having such an important conversation, talking about the journeys of these lovely ladies and what they've been through. And we just want to dig a little deeper into your journeys personally and how you can be a support system for those persons who may have just found out or just become diagnosed. One of the first things I I thought when I just turned 40 and I got my first mammogram last year. And at first I was like, why are we doing this? I'm not ready for this. And in that moment, I realized that in the Bahamas specifically, there is no age where this is brand new. Because we are posed with having the BRCA gene, which you guys can explain and express what that is to the viewing audience at home. But because we have that, and it's prevalent in this country, we have people being diagnosed, women being diagnosed with breast cancer from as early as 21.
I had a 22-year-old
21. And because they're not informed, they're not educated, they're not aware of what the options are, they just sit and let it be. So what advice would you give someone who possibly thinks they may have breast cancer and they're not sure? What's the first piece of advice you would give someone?
Go and see your doctor or a doctor. If you are unable to go privately, if you do not have a gynecologist, find one. If you're unable to go privately, visit one of the many government clinics that we have. Flamingo Gardens, South Beach, Elizabeth Estates. There are people out there to help you to start your journey, to discover what exactly your journey will be. But if you have an inkling, if there's an inkling or a thought, even if it's at the back of your mind, go and check it out. If you have a history of breast cancer in your family, be more on your P's and Q's and be more aware of your body.
And what about from the support side? Mrs. Sweeting, I know that Sister Sister is a support group that's been around for about 20 plus years.
21 years.
21 years to be exact. And a lot of women don't have the support at home. So if they needed to reach out, where is Sister Sister located? Who can they talk to? Is there a hotline? Is there a buddy system? Like what to expect?
Well, from the beginning of it, and that's how come we get to know them, is because we provide the portacath for them. And that's the instrument for the actual administration of the chemotherapy. We supply the needles as well when they go to do the treatments. And so the office is located on the corner of Collins Avenue and what we call Gibbs Corner, right next to Superwash. So we're right on the corner. And it's the Centerville Medical Center, and we're downstairs. Founder is Charlene McPhee, is the individual that keeps the store. So she's much on what is going on with each and every one of us. And so when you come in and you need that prescription to say that you need the actual pour, then she would sit and speak with you. And then she would call and let you know that we have a new individual. We place her into our WhatsApp group, and we try to reach out to her as quick as possible to let her know that you have someone who can talk to.
Now, I know I've lend or loaned, I don't even know the words anymore. I'm losing my words because I'm so engulfed in this conversation. But I know that the port costs anywhere from $300 to $500. I don't know if it's changed. So anyone can actually sponsor, or that's the word. I've sponsored a port before. So anyone can sponsor a port to a total stranger, because I know at one point the supply was not meeting the demand. We were low on portacaths in the country, but it still doesn't mean that you can't go and support someone. So anyone that's watching, if you want to donate, sponsor, or support someone, you can actually purchase a portacath for a total stranger or even a loved one. Right?
Or whatever we ask persons to do, if they want to do it directly, then yes, Ports International, that's where we get them from, as well as their needles. And so you can go there and make the payment there, and they would call us and let us know that they have a gift for us, or they would deliver it.
And Minarda,
so
go
happy.
ahead.
No, so we're really and truly happy about that. And that's the main thing, because for Sister Sister, we weren't able to have our fundraisers in 2020 or 21.
So it's time.
Yes.
It's time. Guys, if you have it, I know it's been challenging for a lot of people, but if you do have it to spare, you can help save a life if you actually can sponsor, support, or provide means for a port for someone. And Minarda, I know that you have your group, Tatas and Tiaras. Tell us a little bit more about that
So
initiative.
this year will actually be our 9th year for Tatas and Tiaras, but it's my year 5 anniversary. So we're trying to go a little bigger this year. Due to COVID, we have a beautiful tent set up in the back of Walk-In Clinic on Collins Avenue. That is our spot. We take them over every year. The staff is amazing. They know us. They have us so comfortable that a lot of our girls, our women, are repeat. We call each other girls. My apologies. A lot of it because we fight like a girl. So I have that girl stuck
And
in
then
my
you think
head.
about the
That's that,
girls.
You know, that's
Yeah.
exactly.
It's
So
about the girls.
we have
Yeah.
had a lot of
Figuratively.
repeat, and we've had a lot of people. And this year, it's usually through word of mouth, but this year I'm trying to actually publicize it so much more because of COVID and everything else that they're looking to do as many screenings as they can. So for anyone interested in doing your mammogram this year, you can WhatsApp me at 557-4523 or send me a DM at Minarda Eden on Facebook Messenger, and we will go ahead and get you sorted. They offer a great cash rate in October. It's half price for mammograms, so it's $50 plus VAT.
That's not bad.
That is
It's
awesome.
a really good price. They have a state-of-the-art machine there that their radiology department is great.
At the walk-in clinic.
Yeah, Patrona is absolutely awesome, and all of her staff. So we do that. Sometimes we go into the ultrasounds as well, but we also, what we're hoping to do this year is we're going to have a donation box set there. So that anyone that comes, even if you're not participating, we're going to do a donation so that we can hopefully sponsor a port. So we'll be passing that on over to Mrs. Sweeting for whoever we are able to assist with that. We do that every year, and as far as the buddy system, you've heard our names. I'm sure you know so many other people. I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure that Alia, Mrs. Sweeting, agree that if you need to reach out, ask questions. It was amazing. I remember having somebody that heard through a friend of a friend that I had been diagnosed, and when I was diagnosed, I was only like the 5th triple positive that my doctor had, and one of those first ones just reached out to me. She didn't even know that I was triple positive. She just heard, oh, I heard you were diagnosed, and I just wanted to reach out and see how you're doing. So that means a lot.
a long way.
Dr. E.B. Jackson is another great. She has a book. She's someone that will sit and talk to you and let you, go over all of she had so much going on with her system. She's a celebrated marathoner that she had started before and continued during and still does. So I think the hard thing is to just reach out to
Just
someone.
reach out,
Just
just
make sure you
ask.
reach out to someone. Sometimes we don't advocate for ourselves, so some of us need to have those family members or friends. Ask them to come with us, even if they don't say anything. Let them make notes when you're talking to your doctor, because they will say things to you and you'll sit there and go, and then get home and someone says, so what treatment are you going to have? Did we discuss that? Because you're just kind of in the twilight zone hearing. You just go through it. So you don't, at the beginning, you don't think, you just literally have to do. So you don't get those feelings coming in until a little bit later.
So I'm happy that you started that initiative because you have the support for women that are going through it, but for women that have not had a mammogram, that have not been diagnosed, we still need support. We still need the encouragement to say, this is the time for us to go. And I can tell you, I'm gonna bring the camera in close, y'all. It ain't that bad. Like I've heard horror stories for years. People will say, oh my God, that thing hurt. It's like this, it smashes you down. And then I'll be the first to tell you that I thought that my boobies was gonna look like puppy dog ears when they were done. I was nervous. I was nervous that pancakes were gonna be the result. But they have updated the equipment so much so that the only thing you have to be concerned about is if you're afraid of the cold, it's gonna be a little bit cold on you. But a little bit of discomfort takes you a long way. And can save your life.
And the age is
And it does
35
not take long.
now,
35
not
now.
40.
35.
35.
So I was 5 years too late, really. Well, not 5 years too late, but 5 years
but it used to
beyond
be
the
40.
time.
It used to be 40. It's 35 now.
And I was originally thinking
35
45. I
now.
was like, oh my God, Dad.
Because even with us doing our
Yeah.
group, when we first started, before my diagnosis, if I had someone that was in that 35, 40 age group, I was. So they took me. I knew of one family member at the time. Turns out after the fact that I have like a real family history that I wasn't even aware of.
Oh, wow.
But they would work with us if we knew that we had. It's like my daughter, I was 41
Right.
when I was diagnosed, so my daughter has to start having mammograms at 31.
Right.
Because
So
it's
10 years earlier.
It's 10 years,
prior
right.
to where
Okay.
your parents' diagnosis was.
Yeah.
So that 35 now, they've come strong with it, because I know people that were turned away years ago
Right.
would try to go and do it. Oh, no, you're not old enough. We don't need to do it. You have to know to stand your ground and say, hey, look, I've got a family history here. I need to do it. I
Yeah.
have to do it.
And I wish we had more proper statistical data to show how many women in the Bahamas are diagnosed on an annual basis. I know the statistics, they're not up to date, they're not current, and I wish we could get that. But I want to pivot into the reality of it, the stigma that comes along with it. You see people wearing wigs, you lose your hair, you lose, we talked about teeth
Oh, I did
care,
have on my
we
bald
talked
head. I had
about...
fun.
Let's talk about that a little bit. For some people, I mean, I can tell you, I ain't got no yoke for no bald head. God bless y'all for status. 'Cause just the deal, I think I would probably spend like 10 minutes in denial, because I'm gonna be like, I don't need a wig, I need a yoke implant.
Really?
That's what I'm thinking. But on a serious note, it affects you not just aesthetically, but emotionally, psychologically, the changes that you go through your body. Like, we as women, everybody, this is a green-eyed crew in case y'all didn't realize. I'm the only one that got the green eyes at the table. But, you know, everyone at the table, they're beautiful women, and I'm sure at least one time in your life, someone may have called you out and say, oh my God, you're beautiful. And so when you go through this change in your body that everybody can see physically, it affects you internally.
Outside
What
and,
was that
and
process
inside.
when you started to realize your hair start falling?
I started to fall out, but I didn't know what it was.
I thought it was probably
I just thought
postpartum or
it's something, you know. I was like, why are my curls not, you know? So my hair started falling out, and I didn't know. And when I got the diagnosis, I have hair OCD, first of all, okay?
I can relate.
Oh. So after my, when they gave me my appointment for my first chemo, I flew home and I got a haircut.
You took it all off, so you
No,
didn't
no,
have to deal with
no,
the
no.
clump?
Just cut it.
no,
I
no.
did the same thing.
I cut it
kept
down.
going up. Yeah.
Oh, you okay.
I
You
I
just-
went from
went
my
like a pixie-ish.
afro to a pixie, and then I got and after my first chemo, and I started shredding. I said okay, and I went live on Facebook in my barber chair, and he shaved my entire head.
That's what they
The
do.
stigma of not telling, not you know. I always get commended being an inspiration or whatnot, because I was so vocal and so out there during my entire process, and people didn't understand why, but that's just who I am, you know. But there is a stigma attached to it. We are our women, we are our breasts, we are the beautiful
Why
race.
do you think that is? Because I'm asking you that question about the stigma because obviously I had to approach each of you to ask you to come on. And I've approached other women as well, and they're not ready to tell their stories.
story.
And I realize that, you know, emotionally it must be a trigger for some people. They have not healed, they haven't accepted it. They're afraid that if they vocalize it, it may come back. You know, some people, someone actually said that to
That's
me,
the
like they feel
biggest
like
fear
they're
that I
putting
live
that
with
into
every
the
day. I mean,
atmosphere.
that's-
And so the
For
stigma
sure.
behind owning this part of our lives, because as long as you have estrogen and progesterone in your body, it's there.
Well, I don't anymore.
correct.
I take
Well-
meds to make sure that I don't now.
Yeah, but that stigma, why do you think it's there, and how do you think we can release that stigma behind it? Anybody?
One of the things that I try to help women to understand is that we're all different and unique. That's the main thing. And all of us are going to go through these things differently, and so we have to learn to accept. Now, we can sit here and say, well, okay, I don't think I'm not going to lose my hair. That's the first thing someone will say. And I said, but you should start cutting it down,
Not up to you.
like you say.
So
I did
some
the very
people
same
don't
thing.
lose their hair?
Some people do the
don't.
cold
Some
capping
people-
depending
and-
on the
Yeah.
chemo as well. Like I
Right.
was actually told when they figured out that I was triple positive, I was supposed to be on what they call the Red Devil first, which
Right.
you know you're gonna lose your hair.
Right.
But then because I was triple positive, they switched me over to the Taxos hair, which
Right.
not everybody loses
Loses
hair
their
on that.
hair.
These are medications,
So,
by the
Yes,
way.
yeah,
yes,
this is
yes,
chemotherapy.
yes.
So it was, oh, you might not lose your hair. But I had already gone, my hair's like Alia's, but I used to have hair. So I had cut it up short. And then after the first chemo and it started coming, I ended up doing the same thing one Sunday afternoon.
Just-
My ex-husband got his, and I was just, because for me, the first break, if you will,
Right.
that I had was I woke up one morning, I knew it was coming out, and I even have a video that I'd sent to my friends, look at my magic trick. And I was standing in the mirror doing this, and the clumps were coming out, trying to, put
Make
the
it
humor
show.
in there. Went to sleep and woke up, and when I woke up, my pillow was full of hair. So the first thing I did, which was the worst mistake I could have done, was decide to go take a shower.
And it came out more.
And it all, like, there were literal clumps of hair on the tub. And I remember calling my sister-in-law and just sitting there sobbing. Like, that was the first that, yeah. And then that was the Friday, and Sunday I shaved it Asaka.
And that's one of the things I always try to tell women too. I think it's more devastating to an individual to see it come out in that aspect.
Then
So,
to just,
yes.
yeah,
So
definitely.
one of the things when I talk to women, and I would try to let them know, try to cut it down.
Try it so it
Yeah,
doesn't be,
yeah.
it's not
So
a
it's
as
as
cry,
devastating,
it's traumatic.
When it starts to come out, then you won't feel that, And I think that is the biggest part of it, because that is part of you and the way people look at you. And so you have to figure out a way to try to get yourself through this without having all these problems.
Latoya, if I can, suggest not go off topic, but there is a big, that question of when are you going to have children? When are you going to have another one? Okay? They don't talk about how chemo speeds up menopause. So right now I am in early menopause. And
See, there they go again with that lingo. Man.
Yep.
Pause.
Always.
Everything bad is me.
me.
But then the men come in. I give up.
But no, that-
I give up.
Right, and people ask me when am I going to have a little girl, and that is my trigger. That's the only trigger I have. The fact
So be
that I
mindful.
cannot have any more children.
So a word to the wise,
The
is to be mindful of when you ask women questions.
Period.
Well, yeah, 'cause
That's
they
why
ask
I
that
wanted
of
to bring
people who
it.
have decided
Period.
Not to have children, or just
Or- or
how
people
about when
that
it's
are
right for
struggling.
me,
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, we as a
Yeah.
Yeah.
role, we nosy. We just want to know what going on.
Yeah.
But that's
that-
the point. And we share with each other.
Yes.
And that's the main thing. And that's one of the reasons why we're here today, is to share your knowledge with others.
With others.
And to help them to get to that next level. But one of the things is too, your attitude is going to take you there.
Yes.
Regardless of what we
definitely.
tell you,
Yep.
you're going to have to act.
Definitely.
You have to make up your mind that you're going to get there, regardless to what.
And this is where the warrior comes
Yes,
in. You have to have a
amen.
warrior
it's a
mentality,
mental battle. Oh yeah.
physically
Yeah.
and
There's
mentally.
many different battles to the war. You just have to keep going.
You have to
Keep going, because it never stops. It never
Ladies,
ends.
we could talk about this all day long, because I mean the wealth and the strength
So
of the
much.
information that you guys have provided is just, I mean,
so much.
it's I can't even put
Yeah,
into words
there's-
how
there's
thankful
so
I
much that
am
we
for
didn't
you
even
guys to
talk
be
about,
here,
yeah.
sharing your stories, letting everybody know that they're not alone. Someone that might be
Yep.
watching this may have just been diagnosed, or you actually may have put some encouragement into someone to go and get a mammogram.
Please,
And
please.
I want everyone
Please
that's
is
watching
right.
today know that having breast cancer is not a life sentence. You can actually see from
Yeah.
the ladies sitting here in this panel discussion that it's actually a wake up call.
Yeah.
It's a call
Change
to let
your
you know
life.
to
Yes.
change your lifestyles.
Change
Put yourself in the most important position, which is
Amen.
first.
First.
Make sure self-care is a part of your daily life. And we have each other as support system. This has been another successful A Seat at the Table. Thank you for watching and enjoy.
A pleasure.